Well, good evening, everybody. It's so nice to have faces out there. So welcome, Meadows School. We're so happy to have you with us tonight. So I understand that we are going to have the flag salute led by the students in Mrs. White's class.
Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. We stand
one nation
under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
Good job. Yes. I'm Mrs. White, and this is Rowan. Rowan, can you wave? And there's Jachi going back to Mom and Dad, and Alton.
Ah, excellent. Much better than Trustee Barbaro. Sorry. Okay. This meeting is being televised and recorded for the transcription of the minutes. This meeting will be replayed on MCTV Channel 27 on Saturday, October 6, 2018 at 11:30 a.m. and the following Monday, October 8th, 2018 at 3:30 p.m. At this time, speakers wishing to address the board this evening should turn in the completed speaker card to the board secretary. Okay. So there was no action taken in closed session. And could I ask for approval for our agenda tonight? Okay, Trustee Musa?
Second.
Second by Trustee Barbaro. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're approved. Okay, now we're to the best part. Presentations. School Spotlight, Meadows Elementary School. Principal Lujan, welcome.
This evening presentation is actually going to begin with two of our student speakers. I wanted to replicate Meadows practice we have where fifth grade students make the morning announcements, so I wanted to share that with you this evening. So girls, are you ready? Take turns speaking into the mic.
Good evening, Vice President Ferrario, members of the board, Superintendent Faber, and Cabinet. My name is Layla Wong.
And my name is Violet. This evening we are pleased to share the Meadows Board Spotlight with you all.
Principal Lujan will present our school goal and exciting things are happening at Meadows.
I love my school because I feel safe and everyone around me is kind and trustworthy.
I love my school because I feel safe and all of the teachers make me feel very comfortable and are very supportive.
We work together to keep Meadows marvelous by being kind, being safe, and being the best we can be.
We hope you enjoy this evening's presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Wow, for once I have to move the mic up. I feel very tall for a moment. Thank you, girls. Okay, so this evening's Meadows Board Spotlight. This evening, as the girls mentioned, I am going to present the school goal, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're doing in each of the ELLCAP areas, and then I'll share, some highlights for the 18-19 school year. My apologies. Okay, so our Meadows school goal for the 18-19 school year is to provide students the right resources at the right time so they have the social, emotional, and academic skills to thrive in all aspects of life. As I move through the presentation, you'll see how we are really looking at how we provide quality supports across all areas because we really do want all students to thrive. And as we look at areas of opportunity for our students, how we can be strategic in layering on additional layers of support. So, with ELLCAP Goal 1, focused on teaching and learning, all students will receive high-quality California state standards. We want to ensure that we cognitively challenge every student across all subject areas. So we're working really hard as a team to implement the district-adopted curriculum materials and bring student learning to life for every student. So here we see TK, where curriculum is created. And really, that teacher needs to work with our kinder team to look at how do we backwards map to ensure that every kindergartner arrives ready and not just sitting on a rug and learning about the letter B, but actually thinking about how to bring the letter B to life for our youngest learners. And then also featured in the middle is a fifth grade student who's working on an essay, who's at the tail end of a very collaborative process where they went through brainstorming, envisioning, and then working through partners and a lot of peer feedback. So it wasn't just a student writing on their own. Our approach is definitely benefiting students. As we look at the dashboard, the California school dashboard, we see that most of our colors are blue and green, which is a good thing. And I am really excited that this year we are able to access Data Zone. This is a snapshot of Data Zone. It highlights 16, 17 school performance in the area of mathematics, and then also 17, 18 performance on the California, the CASP test, as well as English language arts over the course of 2 years. In really thinking about how do we bring learning to life for students, we are decreasing the number of students who have not met standard. And this is not something that we do in isolation, just trying stuff, but it is really a team effort. One of the things I love most that we do at Meadows is, as we think about teaching and learning and really ensuring that every kiddo has access, is that we utilize some of our staff meetings to really come together and be honest about students who aren't responding to quality first instruction, and how do we layer on additional levels of support. And those ideas don't come from one individual. It's grade level teams coming together with support of other amazing team members, and really brainstorming and really being strategic in how we monitor how students are responding. And when students don't respond, we're coming back together to really engage in those deeper level conversations, because we really do want every child to thrive. Along those lines, ELLCAP Goal 2 is reaching all learners, and that is providing appropriate tiered supports to reach all students. So in addition to those layering on classroom supports within the classroom, so our amazing general education and special education teachers really looking at how do I just work with the students in my class, we also have additional layers of support. So I will move forward to the next slide to highlight some of that. So, of course, we do offer high quality instruction along as a first layer. We have our student-centered staff meetings. And then beyond that, as I look at social emotional learning, we are utilizing our speech pathologists to provide social emotional support within our kindergarten classroom. So kindergartners are really learning about how do I play with friends, and not just pick up games of play where it's side-by-side play, but actually begin that transition into having a conversation and opening that with a question. Would you like to play a game? Sure. What game would you like to play? Because not all kiddos come in with that. So we're being strategic and creative in how we use our staff members that we have, so our speech pathologists. Also, along those lines, we're really trying to work very hard in social emotional learning to help build capacity in all our students. So we've always had the buddy program where our general education students push into the special education environment. This year, thanks to some amazing team members, we've expanded our buddy experience school-wide. So every classroom now has a grade level buddy. So first graders have fifth grade buddies and second graders have fourth grade buddies. So every classroom is partnered, and all our kiddos are really learning how to work with different aged peers and how to be role models for each other. In the area of academic, as we look at how do we layer on supports, we have our reading specialist who is also being more creative in how she supports students. Traditionally, she's always taken the struggling students all from one grade level and one class and worked with that. And this year she is working with multi-age students from different grade levels and targeting her supports based on student needs. So definitely looking at data and thinking about how she can really target her interventions. And then in the area of behavioral supports, we have implemented positive behavior interventions and supports. Now, Ms. White is one of the amazing teachers who has actually attended a year of trainings last year, and we are looking forward to another year of trainings where we can really build on. Now we've defined our roles, the expectations for students, how we expect students to behave in those ways in the various areas of campus, and we've started planning lessons. Now we can dig deeper and look into what are the next levels. So beyond the positive rewards, and how do we target that better? So looking forward to another year. Beyond that, ELLCAP Goal 3, probably one of my favorites, because I value relationships, is the importance of relationships. Because at the end of the day, we want kids to come to school. Not every kid's going to show up smiling. Some mornings are rough, but we want every child to actually want to come to school and feel like this is where they belong. And so along those lines, we have some great things happening. Again, thanks to the creativity of one of our amazing staff members, we have Spirit Days. So every Friday is Spirit Day. If you come to Meadows on Friday, it is Crazy Hair Day. You are all welcome to participate. We have an associated student body. Historically, that was run by one teacher, and we realized that was not necessarily sustainable, and it's a lot to ask of one teacher. So we have 2 parents who have come to step up, and they're holding additional meetings to really support that and move forward with our associated student body and the ways that they want to make a difference. Their ideas are endless. We do have our amazing room parent program. Our PTO is just phenomenal. I do have to go back really quickly to highlight this. The picture on the side is actually our full executive committee for our PTO. It is incredible. I want to say there's like 12 individuals who are providing leadership, and behind each of those 12 people, there's probably at least 30 other people they touch on a daily basis. It is just, the connections are phenomenal, and it really is all about relationships. We do, again, have Taco Tuesdays. So if you're free, we have another Taco Tuesday coming up on Tuesday the 9th, and they're delicious. And we just have a lot of activities that require collaboration. I spoke earlier about a book that every class is reading, Only One You, and then in response to, as a follow-up, every child is painting a river rock. And we're building a rock garden. And our school is not just a place where kids go to learn or go to play after school. It's a community. And it really does. That only exists because of the amazing relationships and the care that every staff member and every parent brings and every student brings to our school. So our highlights is, as I look to, and the team and I look to the 18-19 school year, we're really excited about really digging into science and just strengthening our community. We're very excited about the buddy programs that we have both for special education and gen ed, where we have that push-in model, but also the grade level buddy program. We're excited about school-wide projects that kiddos are doing. When kiddos meet with their grade level buddies, they are doing school-wide projects. So every kiddo is making a pumpkin with their buddy, or whatever it may be that month. And then also in the area of science, because our team really sees science as an area of opportunity to engage kiddos. There's a lot of data behind science being an amazing tool for engaging English language learners, particularly with building English skills. It's not just learning the basic tier 1 type language, but really developing specialized language and being engaged, because science is so hands-on and so inquiry-based. So we're really looking forward to that this year. So at this time, I would love to open it up to any questions you may have.
Well, we want to give you a round of applause because that was a wonderful presentation. And before we start, I'd love, there are several of the team members that are pictured here on the one slide. I noticed some familiar faces. Could you please stand up if you're one of the PTO people? Yeah, it really does take a village. So, Trustee Musa, do you have any comments or questions?
I do have comments, but I had a question. But when you talked about data zone and looking at kids and how they're improving, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to ask it. Kids that are struggling, do you base it on a standard, or do you base it per child and how they're improving on their own level, or just?
That's a great question. Like, how do we monitor student progress?
You see progress, but is it according to each child, or is it as?
So
I'm sure not every kid is going to be good at math, or you know what I mean.
Every kid is definitely has their own area of strength. So when we look at progress, we are looking we want every kiddo to meet every standard. That is the ultimate goal. And the report card would be our ultimate measure of success. But we also realize that sometimes that bar is not where a kiddo, we haven't provided the right supports to actually measure, is that kiddo going to make that standard? So, and then we do look at individualized monitoring. So sometimes the monitoring isn't necessarily academics, it's more behavior. And so we're monitoring with behavior charts on a desk and rewarding every time a kiddo starts on a task without reminders. And every time they do that, they're earning a star. And then when they have 10 stars, they have free Chromebook time for 5 minutes, or whatever that is. So we really try, when we're monitoring something, we really try to identify what exactly is it that we want kiddos to do, and then move up one level in reading, and then really be strategic about what kind of supports we're providing, and within 6 weeks, are they making progress based on the types of supports we're providing?
That's great. I just don't know how to say thank you enough. I don't know how you have enough time in your world, you and your teachers, to be able to do all that for over 400 students in your. So thank you for all you do, and teachers for. I think the new word is collaboration. I think without collaboration, teachers and staff, and of course parents. Thank you guys for your PTO and all that volunteering that you do, because they need all that help that they can get. But also for all the kids that are happy to come to school, that's the most important thing. A happy child, a full tummy, and the social. And we're addressing this year the social emotional part. So, which is, you have to look at the whole child. And so every time you have a kid that's not doing well, there's a story behind it. So again, thank you so much. And I always love school presentations, because it's just the best part of our job is to come and hear what's going on in our schools. So thank you.
Yes, I have one question, and then I want to make some comments. How does a teacher get students to different levels to see what, they need different teaching methods? How does that happen? Is there a certain, a graph or something that they actually grade the kids on?
That's a great question. So prior to Data Zone, it was a fascinating task to look at data, because teachers were actually creating Excel sheets, and they were looking at, so if a teacher gave a math test, there were 12 problems, and they were looking at which kiddos missed problem number 2, and why did they miss problem number 2, and it was really looking at an Excel sheet to really drill down where does a teacher need to pull small groups to work with, where does a teacher need to plug in a re-engagement lesson, and teasing out that piece. Now with Data Zone, we have the opportunity to, at pretty much the click of a couple of buttons, see that without having to look at Excel sheets. So huge kudos to our team because I mean, a kindergarten class, case in point, we will have kiddos reading at pre-reading levels, so they don't know all of their letters. And at the other end of the spectrum, we will have kiddos who are reading at the end of second grade level. So the fact that kindergarten teachers take kiddos at all those levels, and they all meet standard by the end of the year and are challenged at the appropriate levels is masterful. So it is a lot of thinking about how do you group kids and when do you group kids and target the instruction, and when is it beneficial for the whole group to be together so they're exchanging ideas and working together.
So it really is social, emotional.
Yep.
It all falls into place.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to commend you on your leadership because you empower your school. You empower people, your PTO, your teachers, your parents in general. So I commend you on it. Thank you very much for a great presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job. I think that the thing that really kind of resonates with me is, first, marvelous meadows. I'm kind of alliterative, and so I love that M&M. You could use the M&M piece, too, hand out. Oh, no, we can't do candy, right? Okay. Scrap that one. Anyway, I love things like that. And I love the fact that you have students doing the morning message. And because students listen to other students far better than they listen to any of us. So love that idea. I think what you've created, Dana, is not just the collaboration with your staff, because I think that has to happen for all these other things to happen, but the trust that they have with each other. When you talk about students that maybe, and with Data Zone, you're seeing all these things, right off the bat, that the teachers come together and brainstorm together, because we know as individuals we can't be all that to all kids. And so that trust that they have with each other to kind of brainstorm and do the best they can for the kids is just worth its weight in gold. So I hope you continue with that, because trust is huge. And obviously, your parents have entrusted you with their students, right? And it's pretty obvious that things are working so well, and thank you for staying with us and being the leader, because I think it's hard to year after year to continue this, because being a principal is a 24/7 job. It's not 8 to 3 or whatever. It's 24/7. So thank you for being there for all of them.
Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you to all the families and staff who showed up tonight, and thank you to all the students. You guys are awesome.
So we're going to take a short break because we have treats that we need to hand out. And so maybe 5 minutes? 10 minutes? Is that good? Okay. Okay. Anita, we're looking forward to your staff update, department update. Thank you.
Yes. Good evening. Board of Trustees and Cabinet and community. I'm following up on the same theme as the previous presentation from Meadows. And that is, we are all on the same road for reaching the needs of all of our students. And to recap what our priorities are, they are 3 ELLCAP goals. Teaching and learning, reaching all students, and the importance of relationships. And, the 3 components of that are academic, behavioral, and social emotional learning. And they all go together. We can't succeed if we only have 1 or 2. We need all 3 in order to reach our students and meet our goals on the ELLCAP. So the components of those 3 sections are the Curriculum Advisory Council, which is /MTSS leadership team, and that team is leading the alignment of our resources to ensure that there are effective conditions for learning and students are engaged and the student outcomes are improving. But as I said, it can't be one alone. So there's also the positive behavior interventions and support leadership team. And that's promoting a physically safe environment, which is very closely aligned with social emotional learning, which focuses on safe emotional environments. And with that, all 3 are merging together to guide us or to lead us onto the freeway. This was a roadway analogy, so that we are accelerating meeting the needs of all of our students in a complete way. And our expected results are improving the outcomes for all students to ensure student success. One vehicle to get there. That's it. Any questions?
Trustee Musa, do you have any questions?
I'm assuming that's happening at all the schools. I know we had the Meadows presentation. It sounds like they had that going on already. So, and all schools are following the same model?
This is our one initiative for the district.
Okay.
So every school site, everything is focused on MTSS with the components of academic, behavioral, and social emotional learning.
Okay. I guess...
Is your mic on? Is your mic on?
The mic, yeah. Can you, you can't hear me? Is that you trying to motion? Maybe I'm just not putting... it seems there's a lot going on, but what is, I guess, baby steps? Like, is there baby steps, or we just...
Well, that's what I was trying to illustrate here. Maybe I missed the point. But I wanted to...
I know. You read it, and it's on paper. You can read it, and it makes sense, but how is it coming together with kids and everything going on? Does that make sense?
Well, the drivers are those 3 district leadership teams. But as you heard in the Meadows presentation, each school also has their site teams. So it is, the schools are addressing their academic, behavioral, and social emotional learning needs. tailored to their school site. But we have district-wide so that we're all going the same direction, and and the school word, but the fidelity is there. We're not going, one team is not going off track. Everything is interrelated. So the district teams are the oversight, and they are connected to each of the school teams, which are more specific to the needs of that school. Does that help?
Trustee Barbaro?
Yeah. How does the principals play into this, the principals of each school? I mean, you say that they're learning, guiding principals.
Oh,
what does that mean?
Are you talking about the person principal or okay.
The idea of a principal, what is the principal's role?
In this case, it's the idea, the principles that we are following, not the leader.
Not the person principal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but now that you ask, the principals, PAL, are a part of that, and they're going to play different roles. Some are going to be on the district-wide leadership committee, and some are going to do it at their school site and have another representative on those teams. There's individuality according to the schools, but we're all in the same system. Does that help?
Same page.
Same page on the same road. And we are not on the freeway yet. We don't have it all put together, but we are working together to move on to the freeway.
Got it. Thank you.
A new road that everybody's going on, basically, right? It's a new road that everybody's going on, and every school site will have its own.
Yeah, but we're all merging on with the same on-ramp.
I love the comparisons here. I guess that was my question to Anita, was the fact that I see Curriculum Advisory Council, I know CAC, and then MTSS Leadership Team. So there is one for the district?
We merged when we looked at the purpose of CAC. The driving force is to align resources and address the needs of our students. So that is still CAC, but it is sort of driving the MTSS across the district, because that is about meeting the needs of our students and aligning the resources. And
so there was training for these folks? Or was that just the school site teams?
We have a number of people who have been trained over the last 2 years on MTSS.
Okay.
I don't have the number in my head. And some of those people are going to be working at their school site, and some will be on the CAC. Okay. CAC/MTSS leadership.
Right. Yeah, because I know Meadows is kind of like a little bit ahead of the game, because I think they went through the training earlier.
Mm-hmm, they did.
I know the county office has trainings all the time. So will that be an opportunity for all of our schools at some point to attend?
Well, we did get the grant for the SUMS training, and so we sent a team from each school last year.
Right.
Prior to that, it was actually through the same statewide training, and we were asked to participate, and at that year it was Meadows and Taylor. And so it has been the same statewide training that we were fortunate enough to participate over 2 years. Mm-hmm. That's not necessarily the case going forward for other districts. There was one more training cycle, so we were pretty lucky to participate in 2 of those. From there, we are developing the tools so everybody can be trained and understand. And that's part of what the state training was, to give us those tools to move it forward.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Educational Services, Claire?
Good evening, school board, cabinet, audience here and at home. Tonight, I'm going to veer from educational services and go into accountability. So I'm going to be speaking about the new look that the California dashboard is going to be having when it comes out again now in the fall of 18. So the State Department has met and decided that the dashboard needed to have a new look in order to better represent what the information means to parents. So they felt that the way that it looked before was a little bit too more school friendly, and they wanted to bring it back so parents really use the dashboard as an indicator of how well schools were performing in regards to the state priorities, both local and the ones that they measure. So they've revamped the way that it looks, and the new look is gauges. So we no longer have the Trivial Pursuit tiles, the circles with all the little pieces. We now have a gauge with the same color schemes. So the colors have stayed the same, but now we're going to have representation of the gauge and the arrow points to where you are on that measure. It's also for just the state priorities. So state priorities have gauges, and then our local indicators are the ones that we have to do at our school site or our district site level, and they don't have the indicators. It's just whether or not we met that indicator or if we didn't meet the indicator. So there'll be, within the local or the state priorities, we have the academic gauges, we have chronic absenteeism, we have suspension rates. There's a whole number of different types of gauges that we'll be looking at in regards to what those priorities reflect. And then also we have student groups. So each of the students that are the significant number representation in our district will also have a gauge within that cohort or that category. So the way that the accountability goes is going to be a little bit different for this upcoming year. Since this is now the second year that we've had the dashboard in actuality, the state's going to be looking very closely at schools for whether or not we've made growth in our color schemes. So they're going to be looking very closely at the reds and the yellows, which are the two lowest levels, but not just district-wide. They're going to be digging into all of our subgroups to see if we've made improvement with our special ed students, the students with different ethnicities, our low social economic youths, our English language learners. So each of those subgroups will be looked at very closely. And also our local indicators, which are the ones that we have to do our self-reflections and our self-reporting out to make sure that we're keeping that progress moving in all of those local indicators. So tonight I'm going to be presenting to you, part of the compliance is all of the local indicators that we have to have presented to the board in order to meet our requirements from the dashboard. So this is going to be a little bit more dry because it's accountability and it's what we're mandated to have shared with the board. So the local indicator priority 1 covers our basic services. So that means that we are, first of all, just looking to make sure that we don't have misalignment with our teachers, that all of our teachers are teaching the coursework that they're credentialed to teach. And right now we have 0 that are teaching outside of their coursework. We also are looking at the number of students who have access to the curriculum, and right now we have 0 students who do not have access to our standards curriculum. And then the last one for this is the number of instances where our facilities are not in good repairs, and right now we have no facilities that fall below the good repair standards. And that one comes back to our school accountability report card. But that we do the report card in every February. So we're looking at our last February for this measure, but we will be renewing our report cards this coming February once again. Local indicator priority 2. I must state that I've broken this down so that we'll do this over 2 board meetings, because this is more dry type of presentation. So I did want to make it not too long for this evening. So the local indicator priority 2 has a number of different components because it's looking at the state standards in different ways. So this is implementation of the state standards. So the first one is providing professional training to our teachers about the new curriculum and frameworks. So then I have to report out a self-reflection on where we're at in regards to English language arts, mathematics, the science, the new NGSS, those standards, history, and social studies. So you can see in this report where we are in the implementation of giving our teachers professional development in those areas. The second component of priority 2 is looking at instructional materials for teaching those same curriculums. So you can see that we're in full implementation now of the ELA and ELD because we've adopted now both at the middle school and at the elementary school, and also in mathematics. We have standards-based curriculum in both of those areas. Where we're still beginning to develop is in our NGSS and our history and social studies, because we haven't adopted new curriculum in those areas yet. The next component is looking at the policies to support our staff in identifying areas to improve in the delivery of these instruction. And this piggybacks on what Principal Lujan has demonstrated with Data Zone being in place now. We're able to drill down into these different areas and look at how student performance is to identify where our needs might be in those content areas so that we can therefore support the students who are not performing at grade level in those areas. So we're doing very well with our English language arts and our mathematics, but we're still developing because we don't have the curriculum in place for our science and our social studies. So those are the 2 curriculums that we're now looking into frameworks and trying to develop what we're going to do in regards to curriculum and assessment to see how the students are performing. The next one in priority 2 is the progress in implementing academic standards. And some of these standards have to go into college and career. So we're looking at the career technical, our health education, physical education, visual performing arts, and world languages. So we're developing standards in those areas. Some of these are having new frameworks coming out in the next few years. So we're following as the state develops the frameworks. We're going to be reviewing and incorporating those also into our schools. The 5th one is the priority 2 is engaging our teachers and our school administrators in identifying the professional learning needs for themselves and also the individual teachers that are struggling. So what we have from Anita was the talk about our CAC. We have a committee that actually looks at what the professional needs are in regards to what's being rolled out in curriculum, and that's one of the resources that we use to define what types of professional development need to be developed for the upcoming year. So we are implementing that piece very slowly through our group of teachers and administrators. The last one in this is supporting teachers that have not mastered the standards in their implementation. And so that's in the initial phase also, because that's looking at results that we're getting in classrooms by individual teachers. So those are the two priorities that I was going over for tonight. I just wanted to remind you that the dashboard is using a gauge to show how we are improving with our district initiative, which is what Anita had already shared with us. We're using the academic, behavioral, and social emotional to guide looking at the whole student in regards to their success in our schools. And it all goes back into our ELLCAP, which is our guiding document, which we use to show the actions and services through what the means are in delivering these academic standards. So any questions?
One quick one.
Sure.
Who's identifying the professional learning needs of the teachers? Who's doing that?
So that's a group decision. So basically it comes from the CAC. So we have representations from each of the schools on that committee, and they bring concerns that teachers are having, and principals are also serving on that committee, so we use their feedback also to help identify what teachers are struggling with and need supports with.
I just have a question, Claire, maybe just to clarify too for our folks that may be listening. Can you explain what the dashboard actually is? I mean, I've heard the term dashboard, but I know the dashboard in a car, and that has your gauges, and so I get the connection. But initially you said they're trying to make it more parent-friendly.
That's correct.
By using these gauges or whatever they are. So can you compare it to something we've had in the past?
So in the past, we used to have the AYP and the API. So the API was a score that schools received based on test scores. So the students in 3rd through 8th grade would take a spring assessment, and we were given the results by a numeric number, and they ranged anywhere from 200 to 1,000, and that was called the API. And the way that the API worked with California's assessment is they gave more points to growth. So if you moved any of the students from one of the levels, like far below basic to basic, you got more points for your API. And the intent of the State Department was to have all schools at 800. And that was the goal for when we were in No Child Left Behind. Fast forward, we are no longer with the No Child Left Behind initiative. We are now in Every Student Succeeds. So the State Department had the task of devising another way of measuring school success. And what they developed was the dashboard. And the one thing that's exciting about the dashboard is it no longer just incorporates the one testing time that we would take in our 3rd through 8th grade students. It now incorporates chronic absenteeism, looking at English language progress, looking at other measures of success with the students. So it's actually giving us a better indication of how well students are performing in schools instead of relying on just one test that whole year to give a rating to a school.
That really helped me. It really helped me. And so I know the 800 number. Is there a number
No, there's no longer a number associated with this. It's now a more robust way of looking at schools. So they have the different gauges for all of the different areas. And what we're being held accountable for is growth in each of those areas. So you no longer have just one indicator where you're looking at successful growth. They're looking at multi-measures.
So parents looking at a school's gauge or dashboard, they may see, we're doing good here. So it's not a matter of having made the grade. It just shows where we are in the journey to succeed.
That's correct. So instead of having just the hockey stick analogy where you had a certain measure that you needed to get to, it's now looking at the growth. So it's comparing the previous assessment, whether it's chronic absenteeism, a number of suspensions, the success of our English language learners. It's showing the growth. So it's no longer a static number, it's a growth indicator.
And we're being compared to ourselves.
That's correct.
Rather than to some other district or some other school, whatever. Thank you so much. That really clarifies it for me. Thank you.
So if a parent was looking at
to find the California dashboard, all they have to do is put in CA dashboard and it'll bring them to the website.
Okay, and then so if a parent would look at this, wants to see what our schools are like, how do they know does it explain what the categories are? I mean, how would a parent...
Yeah, I'm sorry, my pictures are a little bit blurry, and I apologize because they're actually pictures of a picture. This isn't live yet, so I couldn't get to the site in order to take a real clear snapshot of it. I'm using a presentation that I received at the county office. So once it's live, so if they were to go right today and Google California dashboard, they would see our old measures. So it hasn't changed yet from the fall of 2017. So you'd see the little Trivial Pursuit colors, and it would show you the same indicators, our same state priorities and our local priorities, but you would see the little Trivial Pursuit pie pieces. But when this comes out now, I believe it's supposed to be happening in November or December, it will have this new look of the gauges, and each one is defined for what indicator it reflects. And there is information and there's links to go to where you could drill down and actually look at what the growth numbers are. So even if a school or a subgroup is performing in one of the lower colors, either red or yellow, it doesn't mean that we haven't made growth. It just means that the growth isn't significant enough to get you into a new color level because they have cutoff points. So I would encourage parents to look really into the information because it's not just a one-shop stop and look at that number to see how the school's doing. There's many different measures that are you have to take into consideration to see if the school is really performing well.
Thank you. Hey, business service update. Mr. Champion.
Everyone turn your head.
Sorry.
Either way, I can present, right? Good evening, trustees. Good evening, cabinet. Good evening, guests. Just a real quick, brief update from the Business Service Department. But as been the theme as we support the district initiative, the Business Services is in support of the development of core programs and how do we bring those facilities and operations to support our educators in the field by using data-driven models and as we assemble our teams to support those models. So just a quick little introduction there. As Assistant Superintendent Beltrami alluded, we have in support of priority, well, number one, as she was telling you about the new state priorities, is our facilities are in great repair. It was good. I would say great repair with some TLC that's needed. And we'll go into that a little bit later as future board meetings go also too. But just to give you an idea of some deferred maintenance products that we did this summer and are still continuing a little bit over at Spring Valley this summer. So if you see behind me, that is new window coverings that are going to every classroom, in the library and common areas. As you can see, there's two shades. One's an opaque that allows light to filter through, and then a blackout shade too. That'll be drawn in every classroom. And our goal is to make this a uniform standard in all our district, so it allows not only service and repair, not just the window coverings, but allows us to buy stuff on economies of scale. So this was done through our CUPCA bid process, and it was awarded to a local contractor. So this is one thing we did at Spring Valley. As you'll see too, kind of see as you crick your neck too, we bought a lot of paint this summer. I got in trouble from our business services department when the bill came, but we painted a lot this summer at Spring Valley too on the outside. And we also installed our new push-button handicap door openers on the lower level in response to a new kinder that came through. And now they just push it and the doors open. Not only on the bathrooms here as in the photo, but also on the MUR room. So it allows all of our visitors to this site to access these important buildings and sites and stuff. So that's at Spring Valley also too. And of course, I've been telling you, we replaced all the flooring at Spring Valley that hasn't had that in a number of years, plus 25, plus 30 years, the vinyl and the flooring now. So it matches. It looks great. A funny story about that is I know I have negative 3 minutes, but a funny story is one of the classrooms, and I won't tell you, she's been in there for 20 years or so and never had a child become sick in the room on the carpet. So guess what happens on the first day? Yes. A child was sick and regifted their lunch on the carpet. And the nice thing about these carpets, they're installed in tiles. So we just pulled up 2 tiles, replaced it, seamless, on we go. So that's at Spring Valley. And of course, out in the field, they had 17 very, very old picnic tables in various disarray, metal. So now as you go out there, you'll see them all gone, except for one we saved. And that is the picture of the picnic tables, 17 of them, at that site. We also put a variety of other sites, picnic tables at Lameda, Green Hills, and Spring Valley. Meadows. Yeah, they were here tonight. How could I forget that? So, but the bulk of it went at Spring Valley. So very exciting stuff. So, again, our Vision 2020 as we progress to the next board meetings, and this Saturday at our board retreat, we'll be looking at going forward. So this is our Vision 2020 forward-looking facilities. In support of ELLCAP goal number 3, community relationship, and before I bring up our special surprise guest that's sitting in the audience, last week I was part of the mayor's civic coordinating council meeting, and they went over a variety of issues and challenges and opportunities within the city of Millbrae, and there was a variety of stakeholders. And I'd like to introduce Millbrae's new police chief, Captain Paul Kunkel. And as he comes up, a little bit brief bio. He's been in law enforcement for 23 years. He's been with the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office for 13 of those years. He's risen up the ranks. He's got more. He'll be making a lot of ching and chang as he comes up with all his decorations and stuff. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Paul Kunkel, Captain Paul Kunkel, to introduce to the board and to our audience on MCTV.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Honorable School Board and council members. My name is Paul Kunkel, like you said, and I want to thank Mr. Champion for inviting me. I want to thank Vaughn for inviting me. Thursday, I'm going to go meet every principal in the district, so I'm looking forward to engaging in that way. So I am your new Chief of Police Services for the City of Millbrae. As you may or may not know, the City of Millbrae contracts with the Sheriff's Office for police services. I also command Sheriff's North Command, which is all our unincorporated areas north of 92. And I also command the Sheriff's Transit Police, which covers all the Samtrans buses and the Caltrain corridor from San Francisco down to Gilroy. He covered my time in. I did my first 10 years at the City of Menlo Park. I am also on the Board of Directors for the Mental Health Association for San Mateo County. It's a nonprofit dealing with the mentally ill and chronically homeless, with the idea that we get them services and housing so they don't end up with people like me living in corrections. I have a Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of California, Santa Barbara, in Law and Society. I have a master's degree from American Public University in management with an emphasis in organizational leadership. I've worked patrol all over the county. I've been a major crimes investigator, a narcotics task force agent. I worked on the state narcotics unit. I've worked gang task force at every rank. I have 2 awards for heroism in the line of duty. I'm very proud of my little license plate pin. It's the coveted award. It's the 10851 Award for Excellence in the Recovery of Stolen Vehicles. I've gotten that twice. And I truly want to meet and engage you. I am your police chief. And the Sheriff's Office really, we not only protect you, we want to serve you. So I was very excited when Mr. Champion invited me. I've authorized him or Vaughn to pass along all my contact information. I want to be available to you if you need it. I know we have a community police unit that goes out to your schools, but sometimes things go beyond that, and you want to talk to someone in charge, and I am your man. So thank you so much for having me and letting me in. I don't think I'm on the agenda, but I appreciate the opportunity to come meet with and talk with you. And you'll get my contact information from Mr. Champion, and thank you.
Great. Before you go,
all right.
There may be some comments from our trustees. Anybody have a... Yeah? Frank?
Welcome to Millbrae.
Yeah?
Why, thank you.
We're glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here. I have a second grader, so this school thing is very important. I don't live in Millbrae, but it's nice to see the engagement with the schools, and this is great stuff. So you're doing tremendous work, and I appreciate it. I look forward to working with you.
Well, we're happy to have you, and we're going to really put you to work.
Ma'am, I am ready. Like I said, I am your chief. So
That's right. You are our chief, and I know there's been, you mentioned about your award for stolen vehicles. What about break-ins to vehicles?
we're working on that, yes. The whole, from San Francisco all the way down to Santa Clara County, we're having trouble with that.
Right.
We've had particular trouble in Millbrae.
Yeah.
And I'm rather aggressive. We have a very robust plan in place that we're dealing with that now. So last month we made 6 burglar arrests and 15 other arrests looking for burglars.
Yeah.
So we're out there. I can't discuss the entire plan because some of it's covert, but in fact, I know we're out there right now.
Well, and I think it's really important, and thank you, Rick, for bringing the chief here, because I think it's important for you to be the face at our schools so that the children, know who you are, and that you're a community person that, is there to, protect them, and a friendly face. And I think sometimes kids are afraid of people, in uniform or whatever. And so I think going around to the schools and introducing yourself is really important.
And that's interesting. I was a sex crimes guy for a while, and I know I'm big and ugly. And sometimes, when you talk to a small child, it's, oh my gosh, look at this guy.
Right.
But I always equate myself, I'm like Shrek, I'm just not green. I'm big and scary looking, but I'm nice, and I'm going to be your friend. And I found little ones can wrap their heads around that. And it worked out pretty well. So I've gone forward with that. So
Good. Well, welcome, Shrek.
Nice. Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate the honor of meeting with you. Thank you, Mr. Champion. Have a good night.
Yeah, Captain Kunkel doesn't know, but we have lots of plans for him.
Good.
One last update. On this Monday, October 8th, I apologize for the homeowners that live next to Taylor, and I looked at Trustee Barbara for this. We'll be conducting fire alarm testing, and we picked that day because it's a non-school day. No staff is going to be off-site at professional development, and that was really our only opportunity to ring the bells, as we call it in the fire alarm business. So, and those in the audience, you'll be hearing a lot of sirens, a lot of bells going off. Please do not call the fire department. They already put them on notice, but it's a requirement, and we have to go through this process. So, Trustee Barbara, I know you live real close. I apologize tonight. Put your earplugs in.
Morning or what?
We're going to start at 5:30 in the morning on your side of the building. No, it'll be more, we anticipate it'll be more in the afternoon to late afternoon. There's going to be some programming and reprogramming they're doing and some changes of some devices. So it's by code that we go back and retest these things. So
I'll make sure I'm not working at home.
Yeah, do not work at home. So that's my update tonight. If you have any further questions or comments, or besides the slides.
I just had one comment, and that was about the shades at Spring Valley, the window coverings.
Yes.
You know, obviously they're great for the sun, but those blackout ones are really important for safety and for drills and everything. That always worried me about those. We had those big heavy drapes that would come across the windows, but those are going to be perfect at all the sites just for that, for safety.
Yeah, if you ever get the opportunity to come out there and walk the site, and you'll see all the work that's being done. Thank you.
You?
Okay. Facilities Committee update?
Trustees, just a real brief update. I know we're all looking forward to our Vision 2020 presentation this Saturday at our board retreat, and of course on our November 6th board meeting. For Schoolworks will be making their presentation. The superintendent and I reviewed the draft, and we're excited about our vision going forward. That's our update for our committee today.
Thank you. Communications to the board. Speakers wishing to address the board on items on the agenda may complete speaker cards and submit them to the board secretary. Speakers addressing specific items on the agenda will have the opportunity to address the board at the time of the agenda item at the meeting. If you are addressing the board on a non-agenda item, please be aware that the provisions of the Brown Act prohibit the board from acting or discussing such matters at this meeting. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person per topic. MEA, not seeing anyone. Moving to CSEA, not seeing anyone there. MEF, members of the community, and we'll just move right on to trustee communication. Trustee Barbaro.
Well, I just have to report that the Leos were at the Spring Valley Fall Fiesta on September 16th, Sunday, from 12 to 4. And I was there representing the Lions Club, and we had a booth for bookends that the kids made, which was donated by the Home Depot company, donated 75 kits. And so I had 10 Leos there. They did a fantastic job. They were from 3 different high schools, which caught my attention, yeah. And so they worked out really well. The kids really enjoyed it. The booth was actually, I want to say, like one of the hits of the fiesta. You know, so it was really good. They stayed the whole time. The Leos helped clean up everything, and they really assisted well there. And so we have a marinated crab feed coming up, the Lions Club, that's coming up October 20th at St. Dunstan, Saturday evening, $55 per person. And so the Lions Club, on behalf of the Lions Club, asked me to mention that this evening. And we also, let's see here, We also have a meeting coming up on November 7th. The Lions are having another movers and shakers meeting. That's a dinner, and that's going to be at the Thai Wu restaurant. And so we're looking forward to having everybody, all the movers and shakers, be there. This is our second time that we're doing this event. The first one was really successful. So it's good to get everybody in the room together to socialize a little bit. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Musa.
I actually don't have much to report. I have finally all my kids are in school because my son just moved out, went back to school, and this week I've just had some peace, like some no kids at home. So I've been just adjusting to that and really enjoying my, The only thing is I can share is we're going to the Japanese festival dinner this Saturday. So the mayor from Japan is coming to town, so it should be an interesting event. And I think that's it.
Well, I just wanted to mention the SEL committee, our first committee meeting with a whopping 38 people. Superintendent Papersert did an amazing job facilitating such a large group. It's going to be very exciting, and I was just very impressed with the people that were interested in this committee. Trustee Musa was there, and from all avenues of the community, not just our schools. We had a Rotary representative there. We had people from the high school. We had people from the San Mateo County Office of Ed. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where we go with that. I think it's going to be very beneficial to our students. The joint MEF PTA PTO meeting, that was another amazing night with all of our people together, PTA, PTO, MEF, our cabinet. Always nice to see what everybody else is doing. I just wanted to piggyback on what you were saying, Frank, about the Leos. We have so many amazing community organizations that help us do what we do for kids, whether it be the Lions, the Rotary, PCBA, our Leos. We have just MEF. I was just at the Millbrae Community Foundation. They're kind of like a baby organization, I think, but they provide grants for high school students, for our elementary kids. They do amazing work with the tree lighting, and they had a donor appreciation luncheon on Sunday to just thank all the donors. So I just wanted to give a shout out to MCF for doing all they do with a very limited budget. I'm looking forward to our retreat on Saturday. I think it's pretty impressive that as volunteer school board trustees, we come together to really improve our skills to serve the public better. So thank you to our district for organizing that. I look forward to that on Saturday morning. And that's it. So, Superintendent.
Good evening, trustees and cabinet tonight. I think that some of my updates have been shared. Thank you to all the different departments. Amazing job, and certainly from the trustees. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to our Millbrae Education Foundation. They were able to provide us with this particular update, and that the donation days for 2018 brought in $242,000. Thank you to the MEF Executive Board. Thank you to site administration. Thank you to our teachers. If you were able to walk the campuses those 2 days, you saw a sea of blue because of that overwhelming support. Our goal for this year is $650,000, and we are at roughly I had it written down, 38%. And so congratulations, we're on our way, and certainly a shout out to the Millbrae Education Foundation. Before I move on to the next slide, I do want to give a shout out to Principal Lujan. As we all know, being a principal is like a mini superintendent. And she and her staff, thank you to her staff, thank you to the parents that were here tonight. It is apparent that the community has come together just to celebrate a community. As Trustee Ferrario alluded to, we did hold a joint meeting with our MEF, PTA, and PTO leads. The purpose for that particular meeting was to revisit what our goals were as a school district. And I know that we've gotten better in terms of a laser focus. I hope that you were able to see tonight in all of our slides, to include Principal Lujan's slide, we all have the same message. And I thank trustees for that. You've charged us to be able to identify what our needs are and create action goals out of them. The meeting that night really focused on how we determine what programs are being brought to our schools. And what we've been tasked with is, how does the school district determine if our answer is yes or no when a PTA or PTO, or when parents or teachers say we want to bring this particular program to XY school? It was a pretty lengthy discussion, and my hope was that we went back and reviewed what the board policy and the administrative regulations were. There is a program that's being proposed at one of our schools, and it is our task at the district office to ensure that that does not supplant our core programs. And so that was a message that was shared that night, and it was a continued conversation. And I do believe that it was a pretty powerful conversation, so that we're all on the same page in terms of messaging and communication. Moving forward, you have seen this particular slide, and Trustee Musa, I'm going to highlight some items that you had inquired about during our presentation from our Student Services / Special Ed Director. And our component, our initiative is to strengthen our multi-tiered system of support. And under that MTSS, there are 3 components that we're working with. That's the academics, behavioral, and social emotional learning. What we decided to do as a cabinet was to carry and to not have one person be the sole responsible party for each of these components, because it's a daunting task. As you know, our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Ms. Claire Beltrami, she leads the academic component, and under that component, there are many different avenues and many different cohorts that she's leading, from the curriculum and implementation and piloting and professional development and adoptions and assessments and accountability. And so in its own, the academics is pretty daunting. As you look at the behavioral component, which is being led by not only our special education director, but she's wearing the hat of student services, that is a daunting component in its own. And then lastly, as we've been discussing, the social emotional learning component, through the collaborative conversations at the cabinet level, we wanted to identify who the leads were. Claire's leading academics, Anita's leading behavioral, and I, as the superintendent, am leading the SEL. If you were to divide and separate each of those components, if we do our job well and we are holding our staff and our schools to full fidelity, we will develop a common program. We will develop a core program for each of those components. We will use data to drive our decision making. We will differentiate for all the students in terms of responding, and we'll create and utilize teams. I think that you would agree with me when I say that each of these components were at different stages. The academics, we wanted to focus on the last couple of years because we were transitioning from the California State Standards to Common Core, and now the adopted California State Standards. That was the number one focus. Without having a core program, without having the same materials for each kiddo, we could not talk about how we can differentiate and provide different supports. In terms of the behavioral component, the positive behavior intervention support, PBIS, our sites have engaged, and I am happy to say that we're not only laying the foundation. Some of our sites have fully implemented. Some of our sites are looking at continuous improvement and how they're making that better. We are barely scratching the surface for the social emotional learning. And because I'm leading that particular component, I wanted to highlight where we are. We have two trustees that sit on the board that you are well versed in the first step. And tonight I'm sharing this with the cabinet for the very first time. And I'm sharing this with Trustee Barbaro. We did meet. We had a team of about 38 participants, and they ranged from classroom teachers to service organizations and parents and specialists. We had every representative from every single site, with the exception of Green Hills. I got an email from Miss Trish Althouse, and she said, "Vaughn, I'm so sorry," because she and Mr. Grassi had their timelines mixed up, and so she is committed to be there at our next meeting in October. And so we're extremely excited because some of the action goals that we want to accomplish from this meeting is going to be pretty powerful. Just wanted to show off some photos for y'all to prove to y'all that there were 38 folks there. And one of the items that I wanted to be very careful about was I wanted to make this meaningful. And with the various stakeholders, it is pretty difficult to differentiate to teachers, folks who are well-versed in what a great lesson design looks like, to some of the parents who I can see had asked me to revisit some of the components that we were talking about because it was pretty foreign to them. But I want to give a shout out to Miss Lisa Corner. I had to put this in here. I forgot to do this that day. Thank you, Miss Lisa Corner, our food services supervisor. It was an awesome, she had various wraps that we enjoyed that evening. Here's what social emotional learning is, so that we're all on the same page and we all have the same message and we're singing the same song. If we carry out this particular initiative and we carry it out to full fidelity, we're helping our students set and achieve positive goals. We are providing instruction and modeling how it feels and how to show empathy for others. We're helping our students to establish and maintain positive relationships. We're helping our students make responsible decisions. And certainly we're helping our students understand and manage emotions. That's a daunting task. And so that's the work of our social emotional learning committee. We have agreed to work on the following goals for this particular school year. I think that I was a bit too ambitious because I thought that this would have happened the first meeting. But now that I'm reflecting on the timeline, if we get to 3 or 4 for this school year, that is a benchmark because I read somewhere that sometimes you have to move slow to move fast. The first goal that came out of our meeting was just to introduce to the 38-member group a basic understanding of social emotional learning. We were all on different pages about what that meant and what that means in terms of the classroom setting. We began to develop common language. We also talked about developing roles, purpose, and responsibility. And tonight, not tonight, but as part of the conversation, we're to develop our vision and mission statement. And the other components, we will get there when we get there. In front of you is I believe Trustee Barbaro has this in front of him. The other 2 trustees, you have this. You had this already. There is a snapshot, Trustee Musa and Trustee Ferrario. There's a packet that accompanied that particular book. That is a full research from Carol Dweck that led her to the book Mindset. And so if you wanted to read case studies and research, that accompanies the book Mindset by Carol Dweck. And I share that book because all the committee members received that book to really understand, and where do we begin when we have conversation with our kiddos? Where do we begin when we talk about best practice research? this is just being announced tonight, but we are going to read Chapter 1 and Chapter 3 before our next committee meeting. I didn't tell you that at the committee meeting, and so I'm telling you tonight, and I will be following up. And I want to give a shout out to Miss Julie Constantino, who actually has gone to H7 to take a look at all of the charts. We co-created charts from all the different principles, guiding principles from the California Department of Education in terms of how we're rolling this out. We're going to do a Wordle, I believe that's what she called it, a Wordle map to see which words resonates most with the committee. And then I also will be sending a recap of our meeting to begin the next phase of the vision writing process. That's one objective. And the other objective is I'm trying to get from the McKinley Elementary School who's implemented the Second Step program to come share their best practice in terms of how they implemented that particular curriculum school-wide, and they have been acknowledged by the state of California in terms of best practice in implementation of social-emotional learning. So that will be our next October 25th meeting, and I look forward to that meeting. And it has been pretty exciting in terms of the research and some of the successes that other school districts have witnessed. Before I move on to upcoming dates and events, any questions in regards to where we're going with the Social Emotional Learning Advisory Committee? Okay. Looking ahead, this Friday we have principal coffees at Green Hills and Spring Valley. On Saturday, October 6th, I have a time correction. Trustee Musa was able to confirm an 8:30 start time, and so we will begin at 8:30, and the 8:30 will be a closed session from 8:30 to 9, and then from 9 to 12, we'll have the board study session where it is an open session for the community should they decide to join us. Also that night is a Japanese cultural dinner. I do believe that we have Trustee Ferrario, Trustee Musa, and myself and Trustee Fema will be attending at 6 o'clock. I forgot the name of the restaurant, but Magnolia's Restaurant. All right. So we'll be there after a awesome board study session all morning. October 9th, the 17th, this is a reminder to our elementary families. We have elementary conferences, early dismissal at 1:15. October 13th is the second annual legislator forum that's being held at the San Mateo High School Union High School District. Check out their brand new district office. It's pretty amazing, I heard. And then on the 19th is the Man and Woman of the Year at 6 o'clock at Green Hills Country Club. And lastly, this is what Trustee Barbara alluded to, save the date. We were just sent the invitation for the November 7th Millbrae, the Movers and Shakers dinner at Taiwu. That's my update for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Sure.
Trustee Musa?
Second.
Trustee Barbaro, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And possible future agenda items. Facility needs assessment, schoolworks. I think you talked about that, right, Rick? November 7th?
This Saturday, October 6th, and November 7th.
Okay. November 7th, okay. And CPR Saturday, any update on CPR Saturday?
No.
No? And any other future agenda items? Seeing none, I'm going to respectfully say goodnight, everybody, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.